I come from very far. I was heavy drug addicted, um, extreme party addict, completely self-destructing myself for 10 years full on. Um, I had to quit because I was killing myself, literally collapsing on after parties. And I got introduced to, not introduced, but my friends in this party scene, they were like, yo, Geek, you should do theater.
Oh yeah.
Theater school. So I applied for this low degree theater education in Amsterdam. Uh, Literally high and awake for 3, 4 days. And they welcomed me with open arms. And then something shifted within me. And I figured I need to do something else with my life because I was believing I would not turn 40. That was really how I lived, and I was fine with that. I was,
Wow.
yeah, I just want to party, man. um, but yeah, then theater school changed everything, and I got sober, which was very difficult, of course. Also, specifically at this theater school, I was 24, and then these kids were like 16, 17,
Yeah.
18. And I was, like used to um, connect with young people while being high. So I had to get used for a long time. Uh, I couldn't understand why these people would hug each other at the first day of meeting each other, and like I was just like socially awkward as fuck, and that made me relapse a lot. And this is how I actually was through school that they offered some kind of meditation course.
Wow.
Yeah, with like Indian people, and there was a whole weekend, and yeah, this is like I can recall one of the first times because I went back. I guess 7 times, like the similar weekend. I got hooked on that very quickly. But one of the first weekends was like we were doing like Kriya meditation and like breathing exercises, and there was this exercise, yoga exercise, where you just needed to do this, standing, this, and then hug yourself. Man, I was crying.
Yeah.
It still brings emotion because oh, that was for me was the first time like, yeah, trying to love myself because I did not love myself like at all. And this is how I got introduced into the world of spirituality. And from that point on, I went deep, like as deep as I went into drugs and partying. I went into the spiritual healing modalities and trying to heal myself. I got addicted to trying to heal myself. Um, Very powerful, and that was in 2012. So that's quite a journey back. Um, that was the question, right? How I got into it.
Yes, yes, no, perfect. And how did you realize that you're not addicted anymore? What was that moment when you're like, oh, I'm healed from that?
I think that only came a few months ago.
Okay, I hear
Honestly,
you.
and that was actually after doing ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like wrapped it up.
Yeah,
And there's still, like wobbly days, of course, like everybody has, but really addicted. Like my last relapse, I would say, kind of was last season at Prison Escape.
mm-hmm.
Not really a relapse, but I think it was. I was just working 12 hours a day, and then I'd sleep in a hotel. And for me, that's just, yeah, it's too overwhelming with the radiation and just being in the city. So I had to numb myself, and yeah, there was this like group of colleagues I was really fond of, and they were smoking weed every night. So I was joining, and then you know. So that's not even a year ago. Um, so it's been on and off, really, yeah, learning a lot. And I used to have, you know, it's my themes around addiction. Um, they're really tied to my karmic lessons as well. Um, and it's I would lose myself in someone. I would fall in love, and I would lose myself in this person, and this person would have addictions, and this person would drag me into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, yeah, it was just how it go. And this was years, like years and years and years of the same pattern. Um, and now, you know, like now I'm realizing that has a lot to do with my karmic patterns, because the theme of addiction has been, I guess, at least 3 lifetimes where it was quite severe,
Mm.
getting worse every lifetime. So then, and was the fourth one.
Thank you
And
for sharing.
yes, it's intense.
It's important. You know, I'd like to have a space to talk about my addictions, to talk about my, you know, diseases and addictions to eating and bulimia, you know, and other addictions. And it's difficult to make a space, whether online or offline, to talk about this. This is health. We're talking about health, the most personal thing one can ever talk about, specifically mental health, really. So it's still very difficult for me to make a safe space and also find a safe space to talk about these things. So let's see how we develop ourselves and be able to share our stories transparently to help not only ourselves to kind of like look back and see how far we've gone, but also to see, to show others that it is possible to get out of certain patterns and loops. So when you talked about karmic lessons and multiple lifetimes, can you double click on that? So first of all, the question is, what is a karmic lesson? And then what do you mean by saying lifetimes, past lifetimes?
Yeah, karmic lessons are, we're born in this vessel in order to learn something, and we we reincarnate as a soul. Like the soul is immortal, and we reincarnate constantly. That's been going on like forever. um, and we are here to evolve as a soul, and I believe that that should be your main focus in this life, to evolve
Mm-hmm.
and to grow. Because as we evolve individually, we evolve as a collective, and that's how we create a better world. Um, so yeah, karmic lessons is, um, yeah, some things that you've been through in your past life that you drag into this life that you have to learn from. This has happened, so in this life I want to do it differently, or in this life I need to use that use that experience in order um, to grow, or to remember myself, or but yeah, specifically karmic lessons, they're really harsh and difficult because your soul is used to having a certain pattern, you know, that's been a whole lifetime, and then you reincarnate with this. It's imprinted in your subconscious. So it's difficult to get out of, I guess, because you're used to that as a soul, and you're really good at it. You've integrated it, and in this lifetime, yeah, um, you must learn from it, and turn it around, or grow out of it, or use it as a fire, like a force
Mm-hmm.
to
Like an
transform.
inspiration, yeah, to move forward and even the direction of that spiritual work. Mm-hmm. And when you say past lives, again, is it that is it in a linear fashion that we experience that in year zero, for example, we're born and then there's a life and then it ends and then we, you know, we go back almost like immediately or at some point, and then, you know, it goes on until now, until this lifetime. Or is it that the soul comes back and in? Like, how do you think about it generally? How do you help people understand this? Because you're one of the very few experts I've talked with about past lives before. It's a very rare topic. It's quite mysterious still.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I see the soul as an immortal consciousness connected to all that is. So in that sense, you know, time would not be real, or yeah, you know, you live in the now, and so you kind of like, if you're connected to your soul, you're connected to all that is and everything that has happened and will happen. But for me specifically, I very much prefer to focus on the linear aspect of this reality, and we cannot. I feel like we cannot get away. Like we cannot get away with the fact that there is a linear time, and so these karmic lessons also, yeah, they come from the past, not the future, you know, or yeah, and I see the past life work and the integration process as something that is kind of like going back.
Mm,
So in that sense, the more you learn about your past lives, the more you connect to your soul, the more you're one with all that is, the more you can also look into the future, because you're just more part of the, yeah, everything.
right. And if you want to share, what is the first past life that you remembered? You don't need to name a name, but generally, how was the process of remembering? And was it the past life regressions that is quite a common way of kind of going back into those memories? Or was it kind of a science? Please share, how did you start to remember? Because you're one of the all the people I know, you're one that remembers a lot of your past life reincarnations, and it's super unique.
Yeah, and now I figure, because I know 18 of my past lives
Mm-hmm.
right by this point, and more than 200 of people around me.
Wow.
And I see this pattern actually a lot in my past lives, that I can sense and see, and like the work that I've done in past lives also kind of like show me that I knew also in those lives who I was in past lives. So it's kind of like something that my soul does. And you know, coming back to your question, and me saying like something that my soul does, I actually learned because I met my twin flame, and it's a whole other story. But yeah, that's the other incarnation of your soul, or this person has the exact similar soul blueprint. Um, and his past lives are also known for like so like two lives prior, that life is known for knowing a lot of his reincarnations, and that's kind of how I unfolded a lot, because um, when I met him in 21, I did a reading, a tarot reading, like just like, because I got obsessed really fast, and it was really intense. For people that might know, it's just the craziest experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm detached now, and it's all fine. But in the beginning, I was like, yeah, just very obsessive, and I would do like past life. I would do like readings, because I already did like past life readings from 2019 on, and that was without names, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I just had like several past lives in which I started remembering me being connected to Hermetic teachings, and yeah, it's kind of like spiritual path. And yeah, and then when I met him, I also did like a reading, like show me a profound past life with him. And then there was like this whole story, because I used tarot to like yeah, to like build like characters also, like what kind of people were they, what happened exactly. And basically it was like we were two magicians and we worked together and had like a lot of communication from other realms together. We also wrote books about that. But things went wrong, like something went wrong, and then we split up. And that was kind of the twin flame separation. And from then on, things were like difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, but I just like left that reading, and in the same period, I was writing a musical, Rebellion musical, which is also because of this first past life reading I did in 2019, which I figured like I'm connected to Hermetica, and I wrote manuscripts or of some sorts that got burned, you know, this kind of information, and so that's how I got into Rebellion, this yeah, book, um, 20th century book about Hermetica, and I've been trying to read it, and it's like specifically written, so it's not. Yeah, I had to read it a couple of times, and then I had this insight of writing songs about it. So I wrote the songs and I composed songs about it, and then there was this period where I was working with a gallery, and we wanted to do an event, and then I was like, I want to show these songs, and then I was like, I should write some stuff in between to make it like a little show, because it was 11 songs and I wanted to make it like a show. And then I got into this 3 weeks of like crazy writing bender. Just I can't even remember it, man. It's just yeah, it's a 2-hour musical, and I wrote specific characters. It was like 10 different characters, and all kind of connected to the things that I already learned from past lives that I did, like these past life readings, without having names or anything, you know. Um, so yeah, and I played the musical, and then a bit later, I was reading more about one of these like I wrote the characters, but I also had little bits and pieces of real information, like in the play, like talking about yeah certain certain magic elements, and I was working with this sigil, the Mona Hieroglyphica, and that was kind of the centerpiece of the musical. And it was in the later on the painting that I did. I also painted it, and I felt very guided to use that symbol because there was a girl I was working with, and she had this tapestry. And the funny thing is, turns out she was my wife in that specific life that I'm talking about right now. This tapestry that looked like the Mona Hieroglyphica, and yeah, so I wrote in the musical also about the Mona Hieroglyphica, which is from John Dee. Yeah, as a magician, astrologer, mathematician, who were channeled angels together with Edward Kelly. And you know, after writing a musical and playing it for the first time, I started diving a bit more into it because I got guided to that. You know, I got channeled in these 3 weeks of writing. I was just like, and I didn't really realize what I had been writing. So I dived into that more, and I was starting to read about this character, and then about who was working with Edward Kelly, and I was reading it, and I was reading it. Fuck, that's my twin flame. It looks like him, like, you know, how that worked out, and this dynamic between them. And I was like, and then I started reading more, and I had this ear ringings and double numbers and crazy synchronicities, and you know, like me being an astrologer and stuff, and kind of like added things up. And then I had this reading, the first reading I did on me and my twin flame, and just like literally that story of this John Dee and Edward Kelly characters. And then reading my musical again. One of the characters that I wrote was a magician in a castle, and just like kind of like John Dee, but in the musical I was just revisiting old aspects of myself, like past lives of myself. So this is how I figured that out, and then I had 3 different psychics confirming it, because I was just a bit trippy, you know. And they all said, he wants to come in now, and blah blah blah. It was
Nice.
very strange. Yeah.
Why do you think there's no information online or there are no books written about the fact that there are past lives that are we need to remember that to help us, guide us? And another question is the names that I've heard you share about your past lives are famous people from the past. You can find them. But what about people who cannot find anything about the people that they've been before? How can they dig deeper into the history that they've experienced?
Right. Yeah. This last question. That you can work with astrology. You can do a lot with tarot. You can still form a character. You can still tell a story and like see what actually happened, connecting it to the astrology blueprints. Because I'm an astrologer, but I don't consider myself as a mainstream astrologer. I'm more of like a karmic astrologer, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. So I can pinpoint these kind of exact things that you're dragging along from past lives, whether it be in form of like wounds or subconscious fears or like shadow aspects, or specifically what you need to learn in this lifetime. Um, so yeah, I have the feeling like if you have been just at least a bit known, I think I can find you. I think yeah, I've developed myself very well in that sense, and yeah, but yeah, if you're not known, I don't know.
But why we wouldn't write books for ourselves in the future about this hey, I've been this and this and this and that, so that you don't need to do your homework anymore, and then, kind of like prepare ourselves for this lifetime.
Yeah, right. I think Crowley did that.
Okay,
Alistair Crowley.
cool. I didn't know that.
That's how I found my whole list.
Nice.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, good work.
Because he's like he mentioned in his book being Edward Kelly in his past life.
I see. Nice. Okay, good to know. I see that. So that was a good thinking back then, um, because it's difficult. Because it's almost like, if you haven't started, it's very hard to kind of like get started. Because I had this experience when I was meditating, like some guided meditation back in 2016 or 17. Just lay down on my bed, meditated with a past life regression, and I saw something that is not mine. And only later I realized it's not mine. And I made that story fit in my then past karmic relationship story, but it was like it was more of like imagination. I wasn't a clear channel at all at that point. It was just more of like, hey, I did this meditation that is guided by an internet persona. What I'm trying to say and maybe ask is that the importance of live connection with people, the importance of this kind of work to be done one-on-one, not so much in group settings, the importance of clearing our channel and being prepared for this type of work. So what are the key aspects of your routine and your day-to-day life that you keep improving and keep clearing, for your body to be able to actually receive this information in a clear way, to be that clear channel? How do you set your life so that you can do this kind of work?
Mm-hmm. I live on the countryside. Because my experience there, I'm extremely sensitive also to electromagnetic waves, and that kind of pushed me down when I'm in the city or something. And that's one. I meditate a lot, stretches, yoga. These days I go to the sauna like 4 times a week.
Nice.
I have like I go to the gym and sauna. I eat organic. I actually, like, this week a friend of mine reminded me of what's it called, the Mayan astrology or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a yellow spectral human, and it literally says you need to become empty, like your vessel, but also your vessel needs to become pure, and then you're able to receive. And so like detoxing and all these kind of things are part of my practice. Also, yeah, considering my 10 years of heavy hard drugs using, and the relapses, and yeah, I've recovered from 8 years of sickness basically,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because of the detoxing and all that. But it's still part of um, yeah, part of my daily routines, I would say. I need a lot of alone time, and I need to create art in order to connect to my core. I would say that's my main thing, also kind of, and yeah.
Clean water also, I noticed and mentioned, I want to mention here as well, clean water, purified, not fluoridated, and awareness of the radiation. You mentioned that before, but I'd like to also note that you're one of the very few people still who I can speak openly about my sensitivity of the radiation. I'm talking about the 5G radiation, the radiation from Wi-Fi, from the all the technologies that we use in general. So, can you speak on that? How can people protect themselves? And what do you do to protect yourself from these waves? And why it's important right now for people to also not forget about that?
Mm. Yeah, I think it comes down also to like your own energy field.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really important one. Your mindset. That's also what I've learned. The times where I had to be in the city or had to stay in the city, I was focusing on empowering my own energy field and not focusing on it. That's that's a really big one. Just don't focus on it. But yeah, if I can choose, I choose to live on the countryside, which I do. And for the rest, with the tattoos that I have, I'm full of tattoos, and that was just yet another addiction I got after quitting drugs. And later it turned out, obviously it's like heavy metals in your body, which is like it's a magnet to the electromagnetic waves. So I would say like be aware of that. If you have a lot of tattoos, make sure that you do heavy metal detoxes. That's really important, I feel. And yeah, I mean, I have like a mosquito net that's like electromagnetic shielding. I have this Ubronic device, like a little thing that I put in my pocket. That's it's not blocking Wi-Fi. I don't think that's really possible unless you make like a cage for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the device is sending out Schumann, the natural frequency, like so it's adding a natural field around you, which you also pick up. So that's kind of like a little bit harmonizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Good for the body. It's like going into nature, but still having a telephone antenna next to you, I guess. Yeah, and going into nature, literally like barefoot, connecting to nature. It's very necessary. I have also like a grounding sheet on my bed. You also, yeah, you put a pin in the ground, and then you're grounded. You're sleeping grounded, and so that in the night you can your body can release all the electromagnetic waves out of the body, because I feel you absorb it. And yeah.
And also, I noticed you use cord for the internet as opposed to Wi-Fi,
Yes.
which is also very cool, I find.
Yeah, I think, yeah, if I work with Wi-Fi for an hour or two, I'm just like
Drained. Mm-hmm.
yeah, drained, overwhelmed,
Yeah, same.
and longer time it just affects your hormonal system, your digestive system. It's just yeah.
So we hadn't had these challenges in our past life, right? Past lives, none of that happened. Maybe we had other type of challenges that we, don't have now. But do you think it's harder for humanity to wake up in masses because of these challenges?
Probably, like I'd rather not really focus on these kind of theories. I mean, it makes sense because obviously it interferes with our energetic system and with the hormonal system. So you get like, the glands are under stress.
Mm-hmm.
So like logically, yes, of course it affects us, and it makes it more difficult to connect to the universe or source or whatever. I feel way more connected when I'm outside of the city. Um, but yeah, again, I'd rather not talk about that too much or focus on it too
Focus too
much.
much. Yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
let's shift gears to your creative work. I know that you've also coming from a fashion background. You've studied fashion design and you are designing and upcycling your outfits.
okay.
You have a very special style that is very unique. Can you talk about how you connect that type of work with your characters that you're performing and your past life work? Like, how do you think about like even putting yourself up, not only for the stage but also for day to day life? And how do you deal with the attention of people?
Oh yeah, just a side note, I never really studied fashion. I did
Okay,
like a half a year of low degree fashion school,
cool.
but
Okay,
I got fucked up on drugs really fast, so
I see.
I didn't really. Um, um, yeah, I think as with all of my art, it's partly a channeling process,
Mm-hmm.
just as I work on spiritual guidance and that kind of stuff. So it's highly intuitive and it's kind of like in the flow, in the moment, and just kind of see what happens. Don't overthink it. But yeah, it seems, or not seems like the first pieces that I made are, they have this kind of like coming together of dual aspects in a way, or like several different kind of I don't know how to say it. I guess it's the same as with my first live show. It's like it goes from dark to light, from intense to delicate. It has all these different colors, and I feel like this is also kind of, especially the first kind of costumes. Mm. And then later I figured it's kind of a coming together of different times.
Mm-hmm.
Because then there was like, like also, it also went kind of simultaneously with figuring out past lives. So then there was a phase I was like into the Renaissance, or, and then I was starting to research on what they were wearing in those times. And then I would go to a thrift shop or whatever and just get some gear and cut it open, and then having these kind of like Renaissance feeling in my mind, and then yeah, just in the process intuitively molding stuff, and then it always turned out to be kind of a coming together, of these different aspects, different times, different timelines, and that's something that I still enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of, it's been integrated into my performances, and now there's like ideas of like doing full exhibitions and stuff with all the past life stuff, and then um, the clothes that's kind of like visually yeah visually the visual language of how I'm experiencing my soul's journey. I'd say.
And how do people receive your look, your way of presenting yourself, and how do you deal with people questioning, the way you are?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because up till now, I would always say like, yeah, I don't give a shit what people think, which is on the conscious level absolutely true. Like, I don't give a shit what people think, but there is this
Mm-hmm.
subconscious realm that is still kind of actually things that I'm working through at the moment, especially last couple of days, also in the last couple of weeks, um, is because of in my past life. Um, I was being praised for things that I wasn't really necessarily proud, or like that was not the message I was trying to bring to people. You know, it was just like it's kind of like overshadowing my intellect and my, you know, like my spiritual knowledge, and all these deeper esoteric meanings with my work. And yeah, right now it's kind of like a subconscious layer of that is kind of like I'm working through that. Also astrologically, I really need to just in this lifetime just show myself completely, like my full authentic self, and really not caring about what people think or say, or not let anybody tell me how to do it otherwise, just really being myself
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically. Because there is a subconscious fear or the subconscious belief that people see me as like yeah, for example, a sex symbol, or you know, someone provocative, or intense, or something like that, while kind of missing the deeper point. And this also translates into my, yeah, in my fashion and how I present myself in the outside world. Is just, this is who I am.
Right.
Of course, I am intense, and I am provocative in that sense, and this is part of my sole purpose, my journey. I need to do this, but yeah, people perceive it as, oh my god, she's crazy, or why do you want to provoke so much? Do you need all that attention, or you know, this kind of things that people come up with in order to, yeah, so that's kind of the themes that I'm working with, and I'm breaking through for sure. It's definitely working. Also because of the clothes, and because of me just recently, you know, I've been making this kind of like Pope stuff.
Mm-hmm.